This is Medicine Women Reveal. I'm Brenda Bates, and with me today is...
Scott Bates, your husband.
Yes, and like I said before, Jen Tuffle is not here. She's at the Q Cross meeting, doing what she does best. Now we're going to go do it again, going back to our caller, 404. Now you're
okay,
on
area
air.
code 404. Hopefully you can hear us this time.
Hello?
Yeah, hello?
Wonderful,
Perfect,
wonderful.
perfect.
Okay, hopefully we don't lose connection. How can I help you, dear?
I was kind of wondering, okay, I haven't really met anybody that I like, and I really hoping that there will be somebody that I like, and I'm kind of hoping that he'll be Asian a little. Like I like Asians a whole lot, and I'm just wondering if maybe in the future, like, there could be a possibility of somebody Asian that I marry.
Okay.
Okay.
So I want you to focus on your question. I'm an empath healer, so I'm going to look at what emotions are in there that would draw you to attract the mate you seek or repel the mate you seek. We'll see if there's any issues that would cause repelling, and we're going to see. So the mate. Okay. So the first card that comes up is the magic stream, and I'm going to have my husband read it, and then I'll start defining what it all is.
Okay, number 18. I will get it.
There you go.
Upright. Okay. Everything is connected through the universal flow of consciousness. Every experience you have seems to have its own, its own life story, with a beginning, a middle, and eventually an end. However, there is danger in seeing events as separate from one another, since in fact they are all part of a continuity and a greater evolution. Like an ever-flowing magic stream, your experiences filter through the whole world, one leading into another, informing and influencing still more. Inspiration, invention, and revelations rarely come to just one person. The collective awareness is a shared storehouse of potential. When you remember you are part of the fluid continuity of life, you become a channel for great inspiration. Allow the magic to flow through you and carry your dreams into reality. Your success will benefit many.
Okay, so it looks like it's a go, but there's a conflict within yourself. There's a towards and away from. You want to go towards this. It's a great draw. But then there is the away from. And what happens is that we have heart walls. Heart walls is that when we're open with our heart, everything's great, and all of a sudden something will happen in our life path that will cause us to put up a wall and not draw people to us. So I asked, okay, so what is this heart wall? And they said it came about when you were 2 years old. And it's the emotion or the trapped emotions that would cause you to have a heart wall. The first one is humiliation. Now, you don't have to remember what happened at 2 years old, but do you know what humiliation feels like to you?
Okay.
Do you know what humiliation feels like to you?
I mean, I can imagine it. I mean, I don't know what it felt like when I was that age, but...
Have you had any humiliation in the last year or two? The last 5 years?
I guess.
Okay, well...
I mean, I guess I'm, like, more separate from, like, my emotions, but, I mean, they're there.
Okay. So when you start to go on a date, do you feel like you may humiliate yourself? You might embarrass yourself?
I feel a little uncomfortable sometimes, yeah.
Okay. So, you know, it shows up as the humiliation, but it is when you feel uncomfortable, you're not sure if you're doing the right thing, it's all of these things. That is sitting in the heart wall. And there's more to the story that needs to show up, and so I'm just going to look at this. Let's say they're saying you don't want to think about it. Oh, that's natural. Okay, so because you don't want to draw it to you, you don't want the power of suggestion. Okay, I'm not asking you to do that. The heart wall is a protection so that you can not get hurt again. So the first time that you got hurt, I should say, is 2 years old, and the story of how you got hurt was you just wanted to run. You didn't know how to respond when that funny feeling of you did something wrong and people are humiliating you, correcting you. It reminds me of the story when I was out on the baseball field or softball field, and I had hit the ball, made it to first, and then the second batter is up and they hit, and you're forced to run. You're told to run. Well, the person on third base wouldn't run, and so then I got stuck in the middle because I can't go back to first because first base was already filled. So of course they called me out. There's nothing I can do. And instead of understanding the whole thing, I felt humiliated because people were doing cat calls, and then the one guy that I liked was there, and he said something that hurt my feelings, and basically I didn't know how to act in the situation, and I didn't ever want to be put back in that position again, so I basically quit softball. Now, telling you my story, do you understand more about the nature of what it means to be humiliated, not able to respond in those specific moments?
I guess. I mean, I wish I could remember a little bit now.
Okay, and most of the time when your souls want you to remember, it will bring up smaller situations to start whispering them to you and saying, "Oh, it's time to resolve this." Okay, what I'm telling you is an old story that stops you from actually drawing in this person. I asked you, so are you going to be able to be with the person and of that ethnic? And you said yes. The soul says yes. And are you able to draw them in? And it said no. And I asked, why are you unable to draw that person in that you seek? And it said that it was this particular heart wall. And all I can say is that, do you avoid doing things, certain places, certain people, because you feel uncomfortable, you dislike them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when you start to do those kind of particular patterns and that behavior, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that it's a sign to show you that you're losing power and you don't want to encounter the old way, like the humiliation. You don't want to encounter that again because you had. So it actually stops you. So the person that you seek could be standing in front of you, but you can't go that direction because of the familiarity of the feeling of it's uncomfortable, I dislike that, I don't want to. And so in a way...
I know the feeling.
What's that expression, honey? So you just gave me a response, and is that it sounds familiar, or am I way off base?
No, like what you're saying, it sounds familiar, like what I feel. I don't like the guy, but it reminds me, like what you were describing, how like I'm afraid to talk to them and things because it's just uncomfortable. It made me think of them, but I mean, I don't actually like them. I don't actually like them. I just get all awkward, and I just don't know how to talk to them.
Good, good.
So,
it's that familiarity that your soul is asking you to address, so that you are able to get that out of the way so you can start achieving what it is you really want. So, because you know that familiarity, then you can use a healing tool, which is a great. And I would end up using the meridian tapping, because the meridian tapping you can then narrow and say, even though I don't like talking to them, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And you do several rounds of it until you really feel like it's gone. You know, how we always check it is put it on a scale from 0 to 10 and give it a color. And you're able to change that out of your system so that that discomfort that's there will actually stop controlling you. It won't haunt you. It won't be nagging at you saying, oh, you can't do that because you don't like it. You'll actually stop that and resolve that issue. Does this make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
yeah.
you know where to go for the tools?
For the tools to get rid of the heart wall?
To help get rid of, yes, to help take care of, see, because your heart wall, I know that we could address by using magnetics but at the same time, your storyline that goes with it is very strong because it's the behavior. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to do it. So we have to help you create a foundation so that you're able to, when we remove that heart wall, you'll be able to be able to talk to these people. You'll be able to do what you need to do and to move forward in the direction you want. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay, so the very first thing is that you go to with www.mwreveal.com, left-hand side healing tools, and you will then see meridian tapping, and follow along on that. And just remember what is like the phrase, even though you dislike that or you're uncomfortable, the words, every time you start to tap it out and be gone, the words will start changing a little bit to, okay, that's not that I have discomfort, it's just that, oh my gosh, I'm afraid they're going to reject me. Even though I'm afraid they're going to reject me. You'll hear those words and those thoughts. Just pay attention to yourself and you can do this, okay?
Okay.
Alright, so re-listen to the archive so that you're able to get all the gems and heal it out. And if you recognize humiliation, or you don't see, and the main thing they want to point out is how you don't know how to respond when those situations are close. When it's being intimate, it's when you're getting close, it's when you're looking, it's when they're looking, and you don't know how to respond. So eventually you can say, even though I don't know how to respond, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Okay?
Okay.
Alright. So, just keep us posted and call back in, okay?
Okay. Oh, I didn't realize this, but I did call him before, and you gave me a reading about, like, I don't have to worry about, like, how I had a skills thing. Do you remember that?
I'm trying to remember.
It was something.
About a week ago, I
It
think.
was like I had to do a performance.
Yes, yes. How did that go?
I was really worried. I passed it, but I really was worried.
Good.
For nothing.
That's cool.
Amen. Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you for trying it and using it and applying it. Now go do that to this situation, and hopefully you'll call back and say, hey, I got a boyfriend. that would be great.
I really like that guy. I'm hoping he'll introduce me to somebody.
That's true. That's true. The universe will help you as much as it can. All right, thank you, dear.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. All right, so the other caller we had dropped.
One Skype caller dropped out.
No big deal.
And dropped two, so another caller
Oh,
dropped.
that's all right. No
They
problem.
call
They'll
back.
probably call back in. If there's anybody in the chat room that would like a reading or anything, just let me know. I can do a reading.
Julian Flo says, my son Robert wants me to say hi, brother and sister. Well, hi.
Well, hi. How you doing? Well, we're glad to
Hi
hear
to
it.
everybody. Hi to Robert.
Yes, it's very good to connect with people. It really is.
Yes,
it really is good.
truly is, especially this time of year.
Oh,
With
yes.
the holidays coming up and Christmas and all that.
Yes. Now, one of the things that I guess as a empath healer, as an empath, I'm a kinesthetic, okay? There's all different kinds of empath healers. There's a tonal empath healer, or an empath, don't even have to be a healer. For me, I'm a healer. I've learned to help people if they want it. I'm drawn to being in that direction that says I'm supposed to help because that's part of my calling. Now, before we go any further, we're going to take a small quick break. When we get back, we will take area code 336, which I believe is Karen.
Yeah.
So we'll be right back after this. And now we're back. Okay, like I promised, we're going to take the next caller, so go ahead, Scott.
Okay.
Hey.
Karen, hi.
Hi, dear.
I want to publicly say thank you for last night.
No problem.
I've known, how long have I worked, how long have I listened to you? 14, 15, 16 months?
Yes.
Been using therapy all that long time. I know it works. But what I experienced yesterday or last night, was phenomenal.
Oh, do tell.
Quick and easy. But I didn't know exactly, I still struggle with exactly how to approach it. It's like
Right.
I know how to do the technique, but I don't know exactly what I should be thinking about or whatever. So with your guidance, I followed your directions, and boom. Okay, so the story is, yesterday morning, well, right about lunchtime, I learned through Facebook that there's a party planned on Sunday afternoon for a friend of mine who's dying of cancer. evidently he's not going to make it through Christmas. I mean, it's just spread everywhere. He had cancer a while back. He was fine in remission, but, back and spread. So
Oh.
it's sort of a living wake, and it's going to be a potluck in this little western town called Love Valley that is in the middle of North Carolina that I used to live in the 70s, and there's a saloon there called the Silver Spur, and I mean, it looks like a western town. It's really quaint. But we're going to gather, everybody's gathering at the Silver Spur for a potluck party, I guess, farewell to Lewis. And this guy's one of my favorite people. I was a wreck. I was absolutely a wreck. And I know from past experience when I've done one other living wake kind of thing before, and I've had other friends die, and some from Love Valley too. And I'm just a mess, like, for, a good week or so around my learning about it.
Yeah.
And I really did not, I mean, I know how I am, and I did not want to go Sunday and be a basket case, because I knew that I would cry the whole hour drive over there, and I would cry the whole time there, and I would cry the whole hour drive back home. Today, I actually feel like I can go and have fun and laugh and party with everybody else, and just have a great time.
Excellent, excellent. And
it's just amazing. It's absolutely amazing, the difference between yesterday and today.
so let's let people understand that your emotions were just overtaking, the self-talk just wouldn't shut up, and
Yeah.
on a scale from 0 to 10 or 10 plus, what number would it be? 10 being the worst.
Oh, it was a good 8.5, 9-ish. I mean, I spent about 3 hours on the phone with different people trying to get more detailed information about it. And of course, it was fresh and I was raw. And then after, I actually did have a whale of a good cry last night after I got directions from you on exactly what to do. And of course, that helped, because that's releasing too. But,
Yes.
I've done that in the past, and it didn't really do anything. I just, I'd wail and cry and just scream,
Yeah.
Anybody walked in, they go, my God, what's wrong with her? Well, but it doesn't get me anywhere. And actually, hope therapy nixed it.
That's good.
Good.
Because the crying, sometimes you can't help it because there's all those chemical peptides, and a good cry releases and gets rid of those chemical peptides, but the self-talk, the haunting, the way you know it, that familiarity, it hadn't taken care of that. The cry didn't. It just helped you to be able to probably cope and to deal. But with the hope therapy, it went right in and said, okay, you know what? While she's going through all this, she may as well use a healing tool, and you did so. And I'm glad it worked, because see, she emailed me and said, I need your help, and I said, okay, and again, you don't have to have a lot of contact, because I could feel within her words what she needed. So then I had to give her some codes, and the next thing you know, I'm so glad you're able to tell me today how good it worked, and I'm glad that it worked, because it's those specific moments. It's like I tell people, well, as soon as you get the experience of hope therapy, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and you will want to go back every time. The problem is when you get into that thickness of, oh my God, you can't think your way out of a paper bag sometimes, because you were just saying, she goes, I know that hope therapy works, but you think I could get a handle on figuring out when? At least the one thing you did was remember that you could contact me, and remember that there is a healing tool, because I've been doing this for a very long time. Well, one time I was so shocked I forgot even I had healing tools and who I was, and I was in the thick of it, and I had to go through that for about maybe 10-15 minutes, and then realize, oh, I didn't need to do that. Okay, well, but I did it, and then I applied my tools. So there's different stages.
Yeah.
So good job. Good job.
I'm sure everybody has had a similar experience, and when you think about the person that you lost, or that you're going to lose,
Oh yeah.
Just the thought of them, stirs up emotions in you. Well, that's what was going on yesterday. Today, I thought about Lewis, and I remembered stuff, and I was smiling instead of crying.
Oh, that's excellent. So that means
Great.
you're able to resolve some of the stuff in your heart so that you're able to process that love. That's the hard part for people to understand is you do love these people. And when I ask them, okay, let's mend, heal, or resolve your heart so that you can let the love in more, they can't understand it because the first thing they do is go, oh my God, you mean I'm not done with them yet. If I resolve it, then they're out of my life. And it's like, no, I'm not saying you're done with them. You're just done with the pain. Because the great memories of joy comes afterwards when you don't have to wade through all those tears. So I'm glad that you're able to apply that tool. I can't remember how many points I gave
By
you.
no means means that I'm done with crying. I fully expect to shed a tear or two, possibly, on Sunday or sometime in between. But it's nothing on the level that I would have had I not done hope therapy last night.
And the one thing is you may notice that instead of crying of loss, you're probably going to start crying, yeah, there's loss, but I'm grateful to at least know them. And because there is a difference in the way the brain starts to think when you are dealing with loss. Because when I lost my boyfriend, oh my God, that was the worst thing in the world. And then when my mother, we found out she was going to die, and that was a shock. But healing all of those, and when she actually died, there's a difference in your thought process. And there is also, of course, a difference between a short-term illness and a sudden death, or a long-term illness, how you want to do it, but sudden death. Right. And I don't like either one, but at least with the long-term illness, you kind of get prepared to some degree. But it still hurts, especially when you think about them out of your life.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you think about it, because you said you were close, you really like this person, can you kind of remember, was it about the fact that you're not going to be able to touch them anymore, you're not going to talk to them anymore, you're not going to be able to do things with them anymore, you're not going to be able to have them be fresh and lively? Because I noticed that's what my thoughts is, that's where I focused. Instead of just saying, I miss the fact that I'm not going to be able to just call up or do little things. It's hard to tell. It really is. But
yeah, for me, a lot of times when I lose somebody, this could even be somebody moving. I remember probably, it was probably 15 years ago when a really, really dear friend that lived across the street from me for 8 years moved. I couldn't even be at my house the whole weekend.
Oh.
And watch her and her husband pack up their belongings and leave. I was so torn about it. It's about knowing they're not, for me, it's about knowing that they're not where you think they should. It's all about the change. It's different. It's like, I haven't seen Lewis in 5 years, but I know he's there. I know I could drive up to his house right now. He'd be just tickled pink to see me. I know he's at the Solstice party up on the New River every single summer. I don't think he's missed one in 30 years. There's, it's like, it's a bit of stability. It's a bit of something you can count on always being there that's not going to be there.
That's true. I like the fact that you found the words to be able to say they're not where they're supposed to be. And Spirit just told me that there's a little bit more they would like you to address, but you don't have to. It's whenever you want to. So notice your phrase, not where they are supposed to be. And there's actually a picture of this that you have, and the idea of looking and not finding them. So it is about more of a sight thing. So I'm asking if you need to do a sensory system, and they said, yeah, you could do that. And then I said, okay, if she were to do the hope therapy, what would it be? And they wanted you to go to L2D. And the reason they want you to go to L2D is because with the liver meridian, when energy gets to present itself, it comes to the room and it presents itself, you haven't decided what to do with it yet. You haven't decided to run or to fight or to check out. It's just that when it comes to you, you're like, I don't know how to respond to you. That's the energy, that's what you're doing to that particular thing. this energy becomes very exciting. It doesn't know if it's happy, sad, or mad, and you're not sure exactly how to address it. So if I had to go to a live wake, I'm not sure how I would be able to handle that. Because I can just feel my thoughts drifting to, oh gosh, the idea of them going to be gone and maybe longing for them to want to stay.
And then what do you say to the person? Tell them you're getting ready to die. How do you feel? I mean, you know.
That's true. What do you say?
What do you say to them? You know, when I did one of these before, as I explained to you, there was last night there's a woman that I had also known for years back in my college days from the same area.
Mm-hmm.
And she had lived where I live now for close to 28 years or so, and she died a few years ago. Lupus, right about 3 or 4 months before she died, they did a retrospective of her artwork, and she was there in a wheelchair greeting people.
Oh.
You know, knowing that she had a very, very short time to live. So that was like my first one. And I'm like, this is like, you know, how does somebody feel when they're at their own wake, you know? And I didn't know what to say to her. I either was standing and listening to her talk to other people because I didn't know what to say. And I didn't want to lose my shit in front of her, you know, because that would be cool.
That is true.
I did on the other end of the gallery.
Now, they keep wanting me to go back, how losing somebody is like going back to, like you said, on that block, the neighbor left. You couldn't go back home. And so as I'm looking, I say, okay, tell me more. And they're saying the first time that this happened is it was like 2 years old. You woke up and your family wasn't where they were supposed to be. And the shock of that, and that reminds me of when my son came home from school, and he was 5 years old, and he just got home from preschool or whatever, not preschool, kindergarten, that's it. And I had the flu. And I usually walk out to the bus, greet him, and bring him up. Well, I had fallen asleep on the couch. Well, we've got those old couches that it just kind of eats you up, and so you kind of disappear in the couch so you don't see you. You just look like a cushion. So my son came home, and the bus driver usually don't drop him off, but we had a substitute. So the bus driver dropped him off. He walks up to the house, comes into the house. He couldn't find me. I wasn't where I was supposed to be. So at least he was smart enough to go to the basement and to Grandma's house. And then, of course, I woke up, wondered where he was, running around the house, ran outside, called the school. They dropped him off. But Mom didn't, my mother-in-law didn't tell me that, oh, your son's over here. And so I ran to Mom's. I lost my son! And Christian looks up at me with a cookie in his mouth going, huh? I'm right here. Oh, there you are, Mom. And I'm like, oh, God. Of course.
Go to Grandma's to have a cookie. At least he knew where to go.
Yeah, exactly. But when he came home, that devastated him because the energy threw him out of balance. And it took me a long time before he would actually, you'd think he would not want to let go. But he had such a hard time of wanting to get close to me because he didn't want me to leave again, so he just kind of like pushed me aside. And I tried so hard, this is before I had a lot of healing tools, to get him to understand Mama was sick, I was on the couch, I'm sorry, I'll do my best to always be there. It's just all that guilt process a mother has. But I feel like that's what happened to you. It's like 2 o'clock, or well, all right. So you were 2 years old, and I think it's about 2 a.m. in the morning, you got up, and people weren't where they were supposed to be. I really feel like you couldn't find them, and that threw you off. And that's another reason, because I said, so is there a heart wall involved in this? And they said, yes, the heart wall, the trapped emotion, is peeved.
What?
You are P-E-E-V-E-D. You're peeved. You're pissed off.
Ticked off.
You're ticked off, sorry. You're ticked off. And peeved. And I'm like, okay, so I said, can we heal this now? And they go, no, there's more to the story. So that's when they said at 2 years old. I said, there's more to the story. They said, yes, so that means I can't heal it yet. So let's go, where is it lodged in the body? So it's lodged into the lung. And that's one reason why you bark at the world, because, the cough is a bark.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to either finish out that process, yell for people, or be mad at somebody, but it's just an unfinished cough. So they said it's lodged in the lung. I'm going to find out, can I heal it now? Okay, so there's more to the story. So do I have to know when it occurs? What do we need to know? Wow, the only words that came in my head were clear and present danger. I'm going to let you set with that, clear and present danger, because I am not hearing anything else right yet, so you must have... Does that trigger anything when I say that?
No, but stuff that's been coming up about my childhood lately is all evolved around or is the feelings of abandonment, feeling that, you know, I was just put in a room and left to cry, because that's what you did with kids when they were, you know, back when I was little.
Right.
You comfort them, you let them, they'll cry out, they'll be fine. You'll spoil them if you don't, you know. Don't do it. You let them cry themselves to sleep. You know, she'll be fine.
Oh my God,
and
that makes sense.
The oldest, you know, the parents never know what to do with the first kid.
Right.
You know, first kid's always an experiment. That's me.
All right, you just hit it on the head, because you always felt that you had clear and present danger because they were never there for you. They are not where they're supposed to be, and you're not there to comfort me, and I have to do it myself. And they're saying that you were learning to come to life. Not learning to come to life? Oh, you are learning to come to life right now. And there's a part of you that's almost afraid that if you were to release this, then you would have the opposite of what you're used to, which is that comfort and that love and that unrequited love. You'll be able to receive it.
Yeah.
So that's what they're saying. And now I'm going to ask, is there any more that we need to do before we heal this? Actually, no. So in that case, with your permission, I'm going to have Scott be the substitute. I'm going to designate him, and I'm going to have you turn around, and I'm going to roll your back, your spine.
Okay, with the magnets.
Yep, that means you have to turn the chair. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so now for
I'll
those
be
of you
there.
that are listening, some of you are watching, so you know, is that Bradley Nelson came up with understanding that when we bring the emotions to the surface, we consciously talk about them, they'll come to the surface on the skin. Scott is representing this being a surrogate for Karen, and that is all he has to do is think of her. Okay?
Right.
And I can even muscle test and have your arm up and say, now, are you connected with Karen? Okay, so now if I were to test using your name Scott, say my name is Karen.
My name is Karen.
There it is.
Okay.
So focus on it a little more.
Okay.
Now say my name is Karen.
My name is Karen.
Yes, okay. So now just embody her by just thinking about it.
Okay, I'll visualize it.
And all they're doing is matching energies. Okay, so he's the substitute. So I can take the magnet, and I have a Mag Boy. You can find those online. But it is running the neutral part of the North Pole and the South Pole. And I'm going to run it down the spine, because your spine has all the nerves that come out and go to all the organs and the places of the body. And when it comes to a regular, what do I want to put it? A regular emotion, then you need 3 times. And right now, I feel like this is mixed up with something else. So give me a second. Is this more of an empath thing too? Inherited? Nope. It's just a heart. I feel like you're supposed to do that a little bit longer. So I'm going to listen to what she wants 11 times. So now I lost count. This is 3. And all I'm doing is starting at the top and going all the way down. And I don't have to push hard. Scott's still focusing on her.
Right.
And I can actually feel certain spots. I'm just going to run a little bit more over in certain spots of the spine. I can feel it down by the tailbone a little bit, so I'm going to run the extra neutral energy over that. And then I'll just go 1, and then go 1 more time. And then, now, we'll move your arms, Scott. Say my name is Karen. All right. Is there any more of the heart wall that needs to be removed? No. So the heart wall of peeved, is it there? No. Okay, so it's clear, Karen. So now just all she has to do is just embody it and feel it, and it'll help her be able to address the issues even better now, because the one thing about a heart wall is that when you get an emotion, or any type of emotion, you don't even have to have the heart wall, the emotion will have a frequency, and each emotion has different frequencies to represent that emotion, and it'll go into different parts of the body through the meridians, because that is the energy pathway. When you're thrown off center in experience, it gets marked in the meridians. But the organs and the glands and even bones and nerves and the immune system are frequency generators. So once you have an emotion that's stuck, that frequency is there. That part of the body will always, what do you want to call it, will vibrate that emotion whether you're consciously thinking about it or not. This is where a lot of people get very, very confused. When I come back, we will talk more about it. Now, Karen, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about, or are we good?
I think I'm good. I just wanted to share
and I
my experience
Yes, we
with
very
the
much
listeners,
appreciate it.
the people in the chat room, and let us know that this stuff really does work.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And hey, I may have to have you give me a written testimony so I can put it on my wall. And
No problem.
you tell me if there's anything, if the cough seems to lessen up, great. If the cough's there but your thought process is different, then maybe there's more that we need to look at, okay? And we can address it at a later time.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, dear. I appreciate everything.
Yes.
All right, we'll be
I
back.
appreciate you letting me know.
Thank you. We'll be back after this, okay? Okay, glad to have you back. Let's talk about this real quick. Everything is a frequency. You are a frequency. You look at your hand and you think, oh, that's pretty solid. You look at the table, that's pretty solid. But when you start to put them under the microscopes, and high-powered microscopes, what happens is you start to notice that there is empty space. That there is 99.9% empty space, and that 1% that you can see is still a vibration, but it's slow enough that you can catch it. And that's basically what matter is. Now, knowing this, and emotions as well, they're not solid, but they still carry a frequency. Everybody understands frequency. Do you everybody remember way back when they'd have a commercial, and I think it was like ABC Warehouse or whatever, it was 50 watts per channel, baby cakes, and as the guy was trying to sell the TV at 50 watts, well, now that's
speakers,
just a tiny little fraction compared to what
compared to modern speakers and that, but it was something big back in the 70s.
But it
All
was
these old commercials.
talking about frequencies. You got watts, and you have infrared, and you have different, the hertz, there's all different kinds of things. But we kind of separate them and don't think how they intermingle as one. Now, when it comes to emotions, it's energy in motion. That's what an emotion is. Energy in motion. It is a frequency that is just like the organs and glands. They're the frequency generator, and they vibrate, and they get stored, and they get placed. And when we get the emotions trapped in the physical form, you're consciously not going to be aware of it. And this is where it gets really confusing for people, because I am an empath. I will feel why particular things will happen in your situation. And when that occurs, then, like say, oh, my car was stolen. Okay, now I'm going to look at your field, and I'm going to find out what energies inside of you, what frequencies, the attraction factor that was projected out, so this would happen to you. And I recently just had a caller somebody that had wrote me and had said, well, I just did what you did, and but it didn't work. And I'm like, but your story's different than mine. Of course, what did you tap out? And then this person didn't explain. And I says, well, as an empath, and I always have to explain, as an empath healer. Now, the only problem is what definition does this person have about what an empath is? They may understand the word healer. They may think I'm just empathetic and I'm just, oh, I understand. No, that's not what an empath is. Anyway, this person consciously said, I do not have any more pride issues, I don't have any more fear issues, so I don't know what you're talking about. But yet I had my car stolen. And I'm looking at the foundation of who you are that makes up the chronological age of who you are. And I see clearly that there was something that happened in the past, and the feelings and everything that were there, and the whole thing that's described, and it's a trapped emotion. And I explain this clearly to this person. I go, no, I don't have it. And so I'm not going to argue if they don't understand the words. Now you can consciously, and I mean consciously, you're listening to me consciously right now. Sometimes your brain waves may go down a little bit, that you're in a meditative state listening to me, but you're consciously have gone numb to it. I don't feel fear. I don't feel prideful. I don't even have pride. I have no behavior of pride. Okay, maybe and maybe not. There are mirror reflections of what all that is. Do you produce people to be fearful in front of you? Yes. Then you're still hooked into fear. And that is because you have to see it. Did you have any fear that you feel like your space was invaded because your car was stolen? Yes, that is still fear. Fearful that they may come back? Well, so, maybe that is fear. You know, and it all depends on how you know it and how you define it. But most people get stuck in their head and they say, I consciously don't know what the hell you're talking about. And have you had any fearful dreams lately? It doesn't even have to be in your waking life. In your imagination, because again, your brain only sees a mirror reflection. It has no idea if it's talking to you or if it's talking to somebody else. It just knows how to talk to a mirror. So if you're imagining, guess what? The brain's going to think it's real. So if it's imagined real, or it is, you know, however it is, the brain acts as if. So when I was talking to this person, I pretty much gave up because they kept saying I have nothing. I'm not even prideful. I said, do you take pride in the way you look? No. Yes. And it confused them. And then they were mad because I confused them. I'm like, I'm not trying to confuse you. I'm trying to get you to understand there's not one definition, and it don't come from just one perspective. There's multiple perspectives. There's multiple ways to look at it. Does this make sense?
Yes, it does.
And so especially when you're talking to men, when I was talking to a woman, but I said to a man, oh, I see you're scared of that. No, I'm not.
I'm a man. I'm not scared of anything.
And when you say, I see a little fear. When I first started to talk, my husband had to learn how to understand my language. My language is simply, I say the general word and then we break it down. Oh, you have a little fear on that. He's looking at me like he's he's consciously checking, going, I don't have any fear. Because he's looking for the feeling, or he's looking around going, I didn't show no fearful reaction. Again, an empath can see those 41 thoughts per minute. They can see all of the energy levels. They can tell what's underneath. And it's not that they're trying to invade, it's just that your emotions are vibrating out, echoing so loud, I can't help but to know that your crap is in front of me. And then when your soul is sitting there tapping me going, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I have to say to the soul, no, unless you consciously get the person that's in that body to cooperate, I'm not communicating. Because I've got people that say they're open, and as soon as I talk to them about it, they have no clue. So there's different levels of awareness. And I guess part of me has to start educating people on what is an empath. It's such an interesting thing, because most of the time, not everybody is an empath. People know how to be empathetic. People know how to feel. People know how to read others. But one of the gifts of an empath is that you start to take on not just the person that's next to you, but you end up taking on the room. You take on the world, and you don't, it's not that you don't mean to, but you're meant to learn how to use this and use it for the greater good of yourself and other people. And I did not know I was an empath. All I knew when I was younger was that I couldn't stand everybody, and it was hardly mine. It just knows that my reaction half the time was because of what they knew, how they knew. It was just very freaky, to say the least, that my body started storing all of these emotions, these empath emotions, and then there's the inherited emotions that get trapped, and then there's your everyday that you happen to get stuff that gets trapped in. So it's so important to understand is that you have to have conscious contact, and by studying the emotion code, it reinforces why you have to have conscious contact. Do you know what I mean by conscious contact? Do I need to explain it anymore?
No, I think you explained it
Okay.
very well.
When we bring it to the surface, I mean, it had to come from somewhere. And this is
Yeah.
where I have to really be careful of the power of suggestion. Because some people just want to stay in their positive space and say, don't bring that up, don't give me power of suggestion. And it's difficult at best sometimes when people are not connected to the knowledge that goes along with being a human being. So the trapped emotions must come to the surface to be released. Because if that wasn't the case, then I could take a magnet and roll it up down my husband's spine and everything would be taken care of. But
If only it were that easy.
But then again, what would life be? You know, and we are very human, and we're learning to remember who we are, and by knowing what we know, and how to address and to heal and to resolve what we need to do next. So the conscious contact is that it needs to come to the surface. Now, if there's certain points on a person's body where there's emotions trapped, you'll actually go weak. Now, if I were to look at my husband, and hopefully we can do this pretty good on the radio, is that of course I muscle test everybody to
Yes.
find out where they are and if they're contacted and stuff. And I'm looking for an emotion, and another thing I do is I scan the body. So as I'm mapping the body, it's showing me where there's energy disturbances. Like he's got one, now he may not, he'll tell you whether or not he has one physically or not. Okay, right
No.
there it is.
Oh.
Okay, now, he said ow because his arm went down because he's Mr. Masculine, but his arm went down and hit the table. So when I'm touching you physically on the back, does that hurt at all?
No.
No. And so people are going to argue with you. There's nothing there. Now you have to remember that I have worked with this, so I'm not just, it's not that point. I've actually went in and I found it down by the one rib cage that you can't touch, and he has absolutely nothing. Fight me, Scott. Okay? So now I'm going
So she's
to...
forcing my arm down it's dropping pretty quickly.
Yeah, watch. Even a finger can do it. And he's a pretty muscular man. So now I'm going to find out, is there a trapped emotion? It's an inherited trapped emotion.
Who'd I inherit it from?
Mom's side.
Probably.
Okay. And then it's saying that you have some hatred.
Oh, no.
Now what's interesting is that we have to have more to the story because we can't just pull it out. So now, 4 years old, hatred for the day. Hatred for the day.
What's that mean?
So are you pessimistic that something can happen and your whole day will be shot because you have to do that one thing?
That could happen, I suppose.
So explain to people what that means. From your
Well,
point of
we
view.
get in our own little groove of doing things day after day after day, and if something upsets that, something new that we don't like, then it's going to monkey everything up.
Yeah, and you really begin to hate that. Is that what that is? Now, if that's the case, this should go hard because he's bringing it to the surface. Ah, it's true.
Okay.
Okay, so now if I just touch a spot, and I'm now looking and
She's
really
touching
feeling.
just about my shoulder blade in the back.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to feel for the emotion. Again, he has
No.
absolutely, positively nothing.
No strength to resist that.
Now, so it's inherited. Is there anything else more to do with this? No, that means we can roll this out. So with you, Scott, you can turn around.
Okay.
And I'm going to, so we're going to turn to the camera if we can too, so those that want to see it. It's a spot that's, for him, is right there. Does that mean it's going to be for anybody else? Doesn't have to. And with an inherited, you need to do it at least
She's rolled
10
the maggots
times.
from the top of my head down to my spine.
And then you keep track, that's 2.
3.
And so I don't have to push very hard. And
5.
somebody asked me, can you use the magnets, just regular magnet? Well, I had. Your hands are even magnetic.
7.
If you can use a neutral side, I'm going to do more research on it. I've got the whole class that I have to finish
9.
learning out.
And 10.
Now, I'm going to always do one for good measure.
11.
So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to check that spot. So
Okay, I'll spin my chair
Now,
back around. And
I should have
she's-
checked.
I got my arm up. She's checking it right now.
I should have checked and see how far out the big energy was when it came to the surface. But he's absolutely got it gone. And even when I go in deep enough,
Wow.
I can't, it's gone. Okay, so now, so we took out the
Fascinating.
emotional trapped. But what's that do for the body? Okay, it should start to feel better, not generating that frequency of that attract emotion in that area, so that area should become stronger. Will it affect him mentally? Yes. He probably is not going to go do the go-to when he would go into that strategy of, oh, look, this has interrupted my day. Now, he may still have some remnants of a certain behavior because there might be some other stuff stuck in that, and that's where we use other tools. What we're going to do is we're going to take a short little promo, and we'll be right back.